Welcome to another episode of Off Leash Podcast. My name is Molly and I am hosting the podcast. We're so glad that you joined us for today's show. Remember, we're not here to say what you want us to say. We're here to be an advocate for your pet. Today, I am joined with a longtime client of ours, Susan Chinchillo, and a good friend of mine, Lindsay Berg, who owns Loke Dog Training. Say hi, guys.
Yeah. Hello. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So we are here doing something a little bit different today. We are actually going to be telling a story of Susan and her dog, which unfortunately went through a little bit of a situation, and we're going to get a dog trainer's opinion on it. So Susan, I'm just going to let you take it over. Tell us about your experience in owning dogs and what happened with your dog.
First of all, I would like to say, I would like people to know how I got involved with the Voyager. My dog had copper storage disease, Max.
Yeah.
And I had never heard of copper storage disease, didn't know what it was. And it was obviously too late by the time I found out. He had had a liver lobectomy and he had half of his liver removed. So I get online and I'm trying to do all the research I can about copper storage disease. And that's how I found the Voyager and your dad and all the work that he's done to remove the copper from the food. And I have been an advocate of your company for 3-4 years. I don't even know now.
Huge advocate.
Probably about 4 years.
Huge.
I am. And I go into like these boutique dog food stores and I'll go talk to the owners and I will talk about the Voyager and I think it's up to all of us to get word out about the importance of this dog food and removing the copper sulfites and all of that from the foods and what it's doing to the animals. Max had probably another year and a half, good year and a half too, after his liver lobectomy. Yeah. But when they go fast. Mm-hmm. And what you're doing is fabulous.
Thank you.
And Max did pass.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for you guys.
Yeah, we're so grateful to have you on board as such a positive influencer for us. And like I said, you spread the word more than a lot of our clients that I know. We really appreciate it.
I believe in it. And what brings us here today is I waited about a year and a half before I rescued another dog. And I thought I had rescued the perfect dog like everybody does. I went to Big Dog Ranch, went to the shelter, and I found this dog I zeroed in on because he reminded me of Max. And I spent what do you spend with a dog in a shelter? An hour? Maybe a couple of hours. Right. And you're asking God, you're asking the dog and what makes you so special? Why should I bring you home? And Fred, who we're talking about, he puts his paw on my shoulder at that point, and then he started kissing me, so I'm like, okay, you're it. You're it. He was a Malinois mix and, gentle as could be, and I brought him home. And I knew he needed training. He was about 2 years old. Perfect dog in the house. Absolutely perfect. I have a 91-year-old mother who he adored, and he was very gentle with her. He was gentle with me. He did react to small. Behind me is our windows that overlook the street, and he would sit there and watch all the dogs just parade up and down all day long. And there was one dog in particular that used to stand right out front and, the yippy dog. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably making excuses for the build up here of this story, but he was okay. And I always kept him away from other dogs. And I did seek advice. I work at a police agency in a civilian role. So I did seek advice from some of the canine guys because I could see he was reactive.
Yeah.
And I followed all of their advice with training. I even reached out to a trainer that he was charging $4,000 for it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's big money. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to follow what they're telling me to do and get advice. And I'm going to do this. And I did. I was up at 3:30 every morning, out the door at 4 to 5 before work, working with him. And I would work hard with him. I got him to automatically sit at crosswalks. He's very good with people, very good. I mean, just little things. And when I stopped,
Yeah.
when I stopped, he stopped, the
Good.
little things. Had him doing figure eights,
Love that. Yes. Good for you. It takes a lot of work to get there. Yeah.
It does. But there were certain dogs that he was reactive to, Lindsay, smaller dogs.
Oh, okay. Prey drive is what that's telling me. Yeah.
Yeah. And squirrels.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Squirrels.
Yep.
So, long story short, I had him for 6 months and we were working hard every single day, had a dog walker for him.
Nice.
And I was still trying to ponder, do I get the trainer or not? And I didn't want to spend $4,000.
Yeah.
So, it was raining one day and there was a lull there was a break in the weather and I took him outside. At the same time, the dog that he didn't necessarily get along with, he came out from another entrance with his owner, both on leash.
Okay.
Fred, had the Malinois tendency to jump, and he loved to jump in trees. And I always let him do 3 jumps, and then it's like onward and upward, and time to walk.
Yep.
So he did his 3 jumps, and I saw the neighbor come out with her dog, and I said, I yelled out, I said, "Hey, which way are you going?" So, cause I was going to go in the opposite direction. And she went like this with her hands, as in, I don't know. When she did this, it distracted Fred from jumping. And he went like that and he pulled me around and he went after her dog.
Oh,
goodness. I tried to pull back, and I'm strong. I tried to pull back as hard as I could, but there was, it's a brick pathway here. And I tripped over one of the bricks that was standing up.
Oh, no.
I tried not to go down. I didn't go down. And in doing so and keeping my balance, I lost control of the leash. And he beelined it to her dog. He went right after the neck, and he did do a number on the neck.
Okay.
In doing so, she reacted. We both reacted incorrectly, but I was over here, and she was like trying to pry the dogs apart.
Oh no!
You can't
so
do
tore.
that.
Yeah, because if he's locked on,
and she was
so
punching.
Sorry.
Oh, it's horrible. And she was screaming at the top of her lungs. She was scared, and she's punching Fred in the nose as she's doing that. In doing so, he bit her, and he got her like right here in the palm.
Okay.
Okay, so again, fast forward. She goes to the emergency vet. I call the vet. I paid immediately, and it was bad. It was, he had bad puncture. It was like whatever it cost. It was a lot. Done. The next day I saw her. She lives 2 doors down, and I went. I'm trying not to say her name here.
Of course, You can give her a fake name too if that's easier.
Karen. I went up to Karen and I said, how's everything? Is there anything I can do? I forget what I even said. She just picked up the dog, walked in the house. And that's when my mother said, "You're going to be sued." Yeah. And I said, "I am not." I said, "She's a neighbor. She's not going to sue me. It's a dog. It happened, and I took care of everything." Long story short, I got sued.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
She also tried to sue the HOA for allowing a vicious dog. It's a very long, drawn-out story, but I got countersued by the HOA on top of all of this.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Susan. This is that worst case scenario. Obviously,
it is.
I mean, death is the worst case scenario, but this is what everyone, when we get a dog, and this is what's kind of, if there's ever that fear in the back of your mind, to me, this is it. This is that biggest risk. I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
Oh, it was bad.
Yeah.
And then, but in the interim, after that had happened, she was meeting with all the neighbors out front because she had lived here 12 years. I was here a year. So she knew them all. And she's out in front of the house, with all of these women pointing where it happened and whatnot. And my mother's like, "You can't live like this."
No.
I used to have to come home from work, back the car up, sneak Fred into the car, and then take him away to give him a good walk and a run and do the training. I couldn't focus. So I took some time off of work. I took a week off of work, and I just sat in the parking lot one day and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I called Big Dog Ranch and I told them, and they immediately said, "Just bring him. We will take him back." And they've stayed in touch with me to the day.
Oh,
and
good.
he has a following. I mean, because he's that lovable and that smart, but he was labeled as aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And in Palm Beach County, he has to wear a muzzle now. So they're trying even to get him out of state. They're doing everything possible for him.
Yeah.
And it's hard to probably get him adopted now because of the muzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And, but that's my story. And I got sued big time. And for me to have countersued, it would have involved me having to take on the HOA also, and just a mess, an absolute mess. So I did something that I did not want to do. I settled for peace of mind because it was a year of hell.
Yeah. I don't blame you for that decision at all. It's not ideal, but it's also like, it's so much with the legal fees and everything too. Yeah.
It was horrible. And then you think back, Lindsay, that $4,000 would have been worth it.
Yeah. Oh,
you know, crazy.
Or finding a trainer where they're going to get you started out. Like, was it a board and train for $4,000, or did they want to take Fred? What were they selling for $4,000? Because that's, to me, I do board and train, but it is never my first line. Like, I have to give you the tools first. I have to assess the dog, and we have to make that affordable. That has to be reasonable for us to figure out what is your most effective path forward. So nothing against trainers that do board and train, and some trainers are just so good with the dogs. They're like, I'll get progress here better. That's wonderful. However, it's hard, especially for aggression cases, because the crux of that is like, he's got to be able to perform for you. And we don't always know if a trainer's only doing board and trains, we haven't seen their technique and know, are they going to harden this dog? Are they going to abuse? Like, we have to know, you have to feel good about the training that Fred's going to get. And you also have to be able to continue that at home. And you're savvy. You were taking him out doing training. I would rather, personally, me as a trainer, I would rather do some sessions with you, be like, okay, we're on a good path. Now let me do a board and train, or now let me do day trains, or some other way to like move the needle faster for you, but have a lot more information going into that. Personally, for me, if someone's going to say you have to start with a board and train, I'm going to find a different trainer. And where are you located, Susan? I should have asked this earlier.
In Boca Raton, Florida.
Okay, Florida. So I don't have a huge network down there, but it's one of those things too of like reaching out, finding other trainers that might not even be local, but seeing who they know and really trying to find you someone that's going to be a good fit for you. Not saying that other person wasn't, but it's just, I'd rather you ease into it with something more affordable than having to make a huge financial commitment. But to your point, you're right. That would have been a much more affordable option than what happened to you. So I'm really sorry for that.
Well, another point, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
interrupt. Go ahead.
Is the trainer. It is such an important piece of this whole thing. When you adopt a dog, you don't know what you're getting. I spent an hour with him, and I would take him back tomorrow if I could. But you spend an hour or two with a dog, you see him online, and you're looking at the picture, and you're falling in love with this picture of a dog. You don't know. And Big Dog Ranch or any shelter, they only know as much as the person that surrenders the dog tells them. Mm-hmm. And one thing I'll say with Big Dog, they know every single thing about Fred, and they call me if somebody's interested so that I can talk to the person. That's how involved they are with this whole thing.
That's amazing that they have those resources and can do that.
It's amazing.
I love that. Oh.
But insurance too. Mm-hmm. Who knew there was such a thing as dog bite insurance? I didn't know this.
Right.
And because of that, I paid out of pocket. People need to know these things. Mm-hmm. Just a little investment in insurance. Just see what your options are.
Exactly. Oh, it's so important to consider all of these things. And I think it's hard for a lot of people to, when you rescue a dog, kind of come in from that perspective. It's really important for people to hear that. Yeah.
I mean, they think health insurance for the dog, that's the first thing you do. You get the nationwide or whatever, the dog health insurance. Last thing I ever thought of, you just think you're automatically covered on your homeowners. Well, because of the cost of homeowners insurance now, people are cutting back on little things. Mm-hmm. And that was something that I never even thought of.
I never even knew that was a thing.
Me neither, Molly. Me neither. Or get an umbrella policy. I don't know, but you need to do something because the litigious society that we are living in, I mean, it could be a chihuahua. I mean, it could be anything. Yeah. You don't know. And if a neighbor does it,
exactly.
You just don't
Yeah.
So
know.
just because I mean, you told me the story, Susan, and what the reaction was when the dog bit the other dog. What is the proper way to react to that, Lindsay? Because I think I would do the exact same thing. I'd be punching the dog, putting my hand in there,
Yeah.
trying to separate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, she reacted.
Great question. Yeah. So the first thing is we're not going to insert hands, things like that. So if there is a leash still attached to the dog, I'm going to first try to grab that. And then, this is what I was trained at a dog training facility. So I don't often recommend this to clients, but if you're in this situation where a dog has a hold of another dog, as we've heard from you, Susan, of like pulling the dogs apart when one dog is attached is likely to cause more tearing. So we don't want to pull apart. There's one technique they call feeding the bite, where you actually push the dogs closer together and they're like, wait, what? And then it causes the dog to open its mouth. Sometimes it works. Sometimes feed the bite. Especially for like lockjaw breeds, if like a pitty or Rottie or something like that is like attached on, pushing them together can cause the one who is attached to open their mouth. The other thing that I've done in the past, I really try to avoid these situations, but in the times I've found myself in this, is I will, rather than inserting, I mean, I've heard some crazy things you can do. I've heard someone say like, oh, well, just stick your finger in their butt. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. No. But the one thing I have done that has worked in the past is, I have taken the top of my foot, like the laces part of my shoe, and I will kick the aggressor in the chest cavity. The goal is to knock the wind out of the dog and not injure them. If you use the toe of your shoe, you can break bones and things. But if it's that top flat part, I have in an emergency done that before, where I get the top of my shoe to the chest cavity right under the lungs, and it knocks the wind out of the dog and they let go, and then I can separate. But I would only do that in an absolute like attached emergency. I've done it 5 to 10 times in my career. But again, this situation, I understand what's going on, what's happening here, of like, in the moment he gets away, at that point you're reacting. But a big part of it too is avoiding those situations and really knowing the risks of the dogs going into it. And not that, again, Susan, Fred hadn't been around small dogs. He didn't have a prior bite history. You didn't have a lot of information. And it feels like just one of those kind of freak scenarios where like worst case happens. But the thing that Karen did of her punching Fred and then having him bite her, to me, that's on her. It's just like it sounds like there was some dog reactivity. You knew that there, but it didn't sound like he liked people. There wasn't human aggression until she did that to him, and he's already in a red zone state. Then he goes after her. That bite on her, there's a little accountability that I think is hurt. If you're going to put your hand into a dog fight, you're going to get bit. So,
it's documented. It's documented by the animal control people. Everything.
It's like that feels unfair to me. But again, I don't know the exact state laws in Florida. I know Michigan and Illinois where I've done this work, but I'd have to read up on the Florida laws of how that works. And it was on her property, I presume.
It's common. It's a townhouse community out here. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
That's why the HOA got involved.
Okay. Yeah. Other things, just on the topic of how do we break up these scenarios too, of like without our bodies, because I've obviously talked about using a kick to the chest, but other things is like an air horn, compressed air. I've had, if I'm pack walking like multiple dogs and there's risk of like, I don't know, off-leash dog running up to us, I've used compressed air in the past. The hard thing is that it's not only correcting the dog running up on you, it's correcting your whole pack. But when I worked at a doggy daycare for breaking up a fight, we had like a penny can that we tried to or a hose or something else that's going to like cause the dogs to be like, whoa, what's that? But that's when we're prepared. We're not going to carry a penny can around or it's just going to freak your dog out on a walk. That wouldn't be a tool that's available then. But for people that might be in more of a, hey, multi-dog scenario, these are other options that I've used in the past. Okay. So question for you with the bite on Karen, how bad was that? Like what was the level of damage caused there?
I know a couple of her fingers were bitten. and like at the top of her hand. I have pictures of it in the report, but
Okay.
She claimed a lot
A lot.
of injury.
I wonder if
Okay.
it was more so just like the pushing the hand and it cut. I don't know. I just don't see like if you have your knuckle out, like you can't do that much damage. I feel like a lot of it came with the punch.
It's hard to say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to say. I mean,
Oh.
I didn't see her after that. It was, the lawyers at that point.
Oh, goodness. That just makes it so hard even to make decisions about next steps for Fred, too. Obviously, we could go back through the report. But, and that also is where it'd be one thing if there weren't a dog and a human involved. Like, to me, that was redirected aggression and partly like a fear response of just being punched in the face of like, yeah, I'm going to do that too. But for like your average dog bite where a dog is biting a person not in this type of scenario, I'm going to look a lot at like the bite and the damage caused to figure out what's the best next step for that dog. But to me, this is one of those unique scenarios that's a little outside of I use something called the bite scale developed by Dr. Ian Dunbar that I recommend for anyone that's had a dog that's bitten someone or even another dog, where we can kind of look at categorizing and then giving us a good prognosis of like, what are the good next steps? What do we do with this information? However, I don't necessarily think that applies to what you're describing as much, because it wasn't like Fred was just responding to her. This was so many other factors involved with her behavior and the dog and his drive that caused him to go after the dog, that it's not like your typical fear bite that I'm used to. I mean, there's lots of causes of aggression, but fear is the number one that I'm encountering on a daily basis. So that's...
He definitely got her dog, though, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But he turned out to be okay,
Right.
after treatment. But the other part of it, I can't. I didn't even see her hand. I just saw it wrapped and whatnot.
Oh.
You couldn't talk to her after that. So.
No. I'm so sorry. Do you still live there? Yeah.
I do, but she moved after, and I've got videos of her moving furniture after all of this, holding her hands and bringing it like down the street and like to whatever she was doing with it. And I showed it to my lawyer, and he's like, Susan, it's not worth it. It is just not worth it at this point, because the money you have to spend for subject matter experts. And I said, the heck with it.
I know. That's so hard to be in those situations. Yeah.
But then, Lindsay, you think about people who are in worse situations than this, that the dog actually does go after a human intentionally.
Yes.
And it's like,
that's my reality. That is the really hard thing about my job. And honestly, I love that work, because I think those dogs need an advocate as well. If a dog is fearful of people to the point where they're willing to like go after, to set boundaries, that's when we talk about aggression, that's what I'm referring to as a dog's willingness to set a boundary with his mouth. And that's the really sad, tragic thing for Fred, is I don't think he was human aggressive. I think he was dog aggressive. He's very willing to go after a dog and set a boundary with a dog. But because of her behavior in that situation, he became labeled as human aggressive, right? Because teeth broke skin, and that's what happened. So I'm sorry, that's just really unfortunate.
Yeah. I think every dog has the capacity to bite. I think it's just the threshold in which they're like, Lindsay, you've met my labs.
Yes.
Could you ever imagine them biting?
They, like you said it very well. Every dog has a threshold at which they will use their mouth to set a boundary.
Oh, yeah.
If you push any dog far enough, you will find it. Your labs have an incredibly high threshold. A lot of other dogs, the threshold's going to be lower, but there's still a limit. You can't torture a dog. Like, they're going to set a boundary.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would never do that ever. But like, there's some people like, oh, that dog would never. No, you could find that limit. But then there's dogs where like Fred or other dogs, like that threshold's going to be lower. And I think I never want to label a breed aggressive. I have Rotties, you had a Malinois, German Shepherds, like all of these dogs, often some people are like, oh, it's an aggressive breed. I'm like, no, it's a breed that was bred for defense drive or police work or something, that they're bred to use their mouth in this way. However, that is not a genetic behavior, or it's something it's in there. However, we can channel that many different ways. And that's what you were doing with your training. You were really trying to channel him, Susan, with like you were saying, hey, I know these dogs are bred to climb things, and like letting him get some hops into trees and things. That you were channeling it. It's just so hard when that dreaded scenario, that freak incident takes place.
Yeah.
Especially making the progress that I was making with him. At least I thought so, and could I have used a trainer? God, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I never got to that stage. I'd only had him for going on 6 months, and I was trying to take the next steps, and I never got the opportunity.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions just about his reactivity, just for me to understand where he was coming from? Mm-hmm. So you mentioned small dogs were hard. Did he react to bigger dogs as well? Or...
No, he would walk past them unless this is a dog community here. Everybody's got a dog. The dog here was a miniature schnauzer that he attacked. The larger dogs in the community, no, but he would react to them, bark at them if they barked at him first.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he would do that, the weird thing that dogs do, like, come on, bring it on.
That lunging behavior. Okay. Because what I'm thinking here, what you mentioned with the small dogs and the squirrels, is it feels like this incident was more rooted in like prey drive. For dogs, there are a lot of dogs that have issues with small dogs, and I think that is more prey drive, versus if it's like his size bigger, to me that feels a little more defense drive. And that's kind of what you're describing. Oh, most dogs are okay, like that are more so his size, unless they're barking at him, then he's going to kind of go into that defensive mindset. Because I like to understand kind of what the dog's drive is when they're having that reaction. And then my next question too is, like, say for a small dog, at what distance would he fixate or get visually locked in? As soon as he saw a small dog, was he on it, just visually watching? Or
no, not really. They would bark at Fred.
Okay.
I found that odd. He would walk out of the house here, and if they were all coming down the street, it was all small. I don't want to say yippy, but they were small dogs for the most part. The people around here, they're older people with small dogs. And if I came out of the house and then they started, then he would react. There was a time I was across the street in the other neighborhood, and this dog that he did attack was across the street barking at Fred like you can't believe, like, I want to take a piece of you. Something just came up on the screen here. Add effects. Oh God, what's it? I don't know what I'm looking at here. But and he didn't respond.
Interesting. And that's where it's like, over time, Fred's going to develop a negative reaction to that type of behavior from that dog, right? If that dog is reacting at him. That dog is reactive. Like that dog, and to me, so when we talk about aggression reactivity, I know I've kind of defined this on previous podcasts, but for this conversation, to me, reactive is an overreaction to something in the environment. That dog barking his head off at every other dog he sees is, to me, reactive, based on how I define that. If he's having overreactions, and that is then creating a negative experience for Fred, or an association there that is going to build over time. If every time Fred sees him, this dog is just barking his head off, he's like, I gotta set a boundary about that. Or at least that's like what's going on in Fred's instinctual mind. Did you ever notice, so trigger for Fred would be dogs barking at him, right? If we're just kind of trying to, smaller dogs barking at him.
He also, when I first got Fred, Karen, she's like, can we walk together? And I'm like, I said, I just got him. I need to learn him, and he needs to learn me. I don't know how he's going to react.
Yes.
But she did anyway. And he was okay in the beginning, but I'm very cognizant. I have no phones with me when I walk a dog. I'm spot on that dog. Because I don't trust them. They're animals. I did that with Max.
Yeah.
But he did walk with her for a couple of times. And then after that, I just wasn't comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. I knew something. He needed training, and he was reactive. And I'm like, I have to be careful and just focus on him.
Good for you.
And that's what I did.
Yeah. And it sounds like you were sensing that tension. There was something between them that was like, okay, this doesn't feel good. We aren't moving in the right direction for Fred. good for you for setting that boundary initially. No, this gives me a good sense of Fred and where he was at. And it's just unfortunately one of those freak situations where, like, perfect storm of her going out. I think, like, hindsight's 2020. That's why I hate to even go on this path, but I feel like it's that moment of, you see her coming out, you just, you pick what way you want to go, right? And then you add distance is like what I do in these moments. And then if depending on what tools we've built with the dog, as far as like leash work, yes work, lots of different techniques we can use, that's when that dog becomes an opportunity for us to work off of. But we have to lay that foundation, like you were working on, solo first before we can, because if we're just immediately starting to walk them together and we're not actively working it, we're working in the wrong direction. And that's exactly what your intuition was telling you.
Yeah. And there was one time where a little Yorkie got off leash and ran to Fred, and my heart started pounding because I'm like, oh God, what's going to happen here? He started playing with it. So it's like he's a conundrum. I'm like, okay. And then another time, a young girl was walking down the street when I was walking him, and she's like, can I hug him? I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. And then his tail started wagging, and he started doing the butt shift, and I'm like, what is going on in here? And she goes, I have to hug him. And she went right in before I could do anything, and he just started kissing her and loving her. And I'm like, all the mixed signals.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, that's every dog. I guess this brings up a really good point too about body language and like how Fred sounds like communicating wonderfully about like how he felt about the situation with that, like what you're describing, that loose, like body, that bow. To me, that is very inviting. That's a comfortable dog versus when they're entering a more aggressive state or they're feeling insecure or whatever it is that's going to cause them, we're going to see stiffness. And so I love that you were reading the room with this woman. I'm personally, for new rescue, I'm not going to let anyone hug the dog. It's just liability wise, but that went okay. That was a fine situation where it sounds like Fred quite enjoyed it. But that what I'm essentially watching for in that body language is what's going to, those red flags is first stiffness, staring, where it's okay to look. Like, I don't mind my dogs kind of tracking something for a moment, but can they look away? Can they check back in with me? Can they, because if they're stuck, if they're like laser focused on something and they can't look away, that's where intensity is usually building. However, I don't think that was necessarily the case with Fred. He's like jumping up a tree. All of a sudden he sees the Schnauzer and Karen and goes for it. I'm reading that more as like he was in like a heightened state of arousal with his jumping, where the second he saw, he's in prey drive, squirrel, jumping, arousal, he's going to have a ton more like force and energy built up versus if he's in like a more kind of mentally controlled state in those moments. But it's just so hard. I think something I tell people a lot is that we have to be prepared for the worst. I say visualize the best, be prepared for the worst, right? Of like what the outcome could be. Because I don't want us living in fear where we're like gripping a tight leash, like thinking about everything that could go wrong in a situation. I want it to be like, okay, let's just like stay calm, deep breaths, feel like it's going to go well, because then it usually does. Yet, if the dog is going to hit the end of the leash hard, I'm ready. I've got my leash short but loose. I've got a nice overhand style grip where my pinky's the closest finger to the dog. I might even loop it over my pointer. And again, woo-saw, deep breaths, but visualizing that best. But if the dog is going to hit the end of the leash hard, I'm ready for that. Because I've had those situations where the leash has been ripped out of my hands. Luckily, nothing. It's usually a squirrel, something like that. But even a dog ripping the leash out of our hands for a squirrel, to me, is a really awful thing to have happen, because the dog learns, hey, this works. If you really want something bad enough, you can overpower your human. And so my Roddy's done it once, and after that, to go after a squirrel. Didn't get the squirrel, thank goodness, but called him back, he came back. But even after that, the weeks after that learning experience, I was so extra vigilant, because I was like, he's going to try this again. That worked. And I need to make sure I'm ready the next time he tries to rip on that leash. No.
He was that with squirrels.
Okay.
Just intense. Oh,
yeah.
Like horrible. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, and just the the fallout for you socially, financially, like there's so much that happened there. It's just, and
It
no
was a
one wants
lot.
to, yeah. And I think it's,
And then the neighbor came out. I didn't tell you this
oh
part.
yeah, tell us more.
She was screaming at the top of her lungs, and he came out, and at that point, I had Fred off her, and the way I got Fred off is I straddled him and I went right into his shoulders. I just remember somebody telling me that once, and it's just like, I don't know how I did it, Lindsay. I don't know how.
Adrenaline,
But
yeah.
I got him off, and I was trying to catch my breath and just trying to take it all in. And I'm sitting down on the sidewalk, and I'm like, what the hell? And he came out because he heard the screaming, and he says, I forget how he said it, control your dog or else I'm going to shoot him. And that happened too. And I just looked at him and I said, he's fine. Cause at that point, Fred's just sitting there like looking around like, hey, what's happening? You know, and he didn't even realize he did anything wrong. And I'm holding him and I said, I have him. I said, he's fine. He says, I'm going to repeat it again. Do you have your dog under control or I'm going to shoot him? And I was like, holy shit. So sorry.
No, you're good. You can swear.
So then I had to, everything started going on in my mind. I'm like, he's threatening to shoot. The dog just attacked her. I don't know I didn't know that she was bitten at that point. He took her to the emergency room, and I said, I need to call 911. Something just told me to do this. So I reported myself, my dog.
Good for you.
And they came. My finger got bitten too in the midst of it by her dog. And it is what it is. You stick your hand in there and you try to do something, or you're asking for it.
I've done it too. Don't worry. Like early in my career, I stuck my hand in a dog fight. I only did it once more, and
it's
awful.
like, so
it's hard not to in that situation because you're just reacting.
Yeah, you're acting on instinct. Yeah, it's not. We're not thinking through until I was trained otherwise. Yeah, that's what I was doing.
That's it. People need the training as well as the dogs.
Yeah,
you know?
I like
for
that you gave us the tips on like how to properly separate. I've never thought of the push them together. That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot more. Like you can deep dive this on the internet if you feel like you need to be prepared. But they even make like a bite stick that you can use to pry open a dog's mouth. I haven't used that one. What else? Yeah, there's a lot of other options. But I think, I think a lot of us, we obviously no one ever wants to be in this situation, but it's something that is good to do a little research on, of like thinking about what you would do in those situations.
I
what would you recommend? I mean, I was going to say, what would you recommend when you're at a shelter and you're getting ready to rescue a dog? Are there specific things that you should look at? But it's a tough environment to assess a dog properly.
You're so great. Yeah, it's so, I mean, even besides aggression, I think like the number one thing I'm looking for is like finding a dog that's compatible energy level wise. I think a lot of people get a dog that's just like way beyond what they're prepared for to fulfill every day. And like, I love Huskies, I love Shepherds, I love all these dogs, but that's like, they need a lot of fulfillment. Males too, Malinois for sure. And it sounds like you were doing that though. You were getting him out. You were doing the training. You're doing long line work. You're going to fields. You're doing all the right stuff. So that's kind of my first thing I want people to look for. And then in choosing that dog, it's such a personal thing. You kind of have to, like I loved your story of he came up, he gave you a lick. Everyone has to kind of find that dog that finds out. I think the thing to avoid is like finding the first sad dog that breaks your heart and be like, that's what I'm going home with. Like, I think it's really like meet the dog, have them meet everyone in your family, like get them, be very selective in that process before making that commitment. And then ideally working with the rescue or shelter of like, is there a trial period? Or if you have an opportunity to foster a dog, amazing, because that way you can really make sure this is the right fit for you. And you're also doing that dog a huge favor by getting them into more of a home environment where we're going to get a true read on their behavior. But things I'm looking for in an initial greeting with a dog is confidence, fear, those fixations. If I'm seeing that, I'm kind of like, okay, noted, I'm going to have to work that. Like if I see a dog kind of staring at something for more than a second or two, I'm like, okay, there's something there. There's a thought that I'm going to have to make sure I'm supporting the dog through and doing that. And then knowing there's that decompression period of, hey, there's a couple days where the dog is just figuring out what way is up. And then there's a couple of weeks where we're starting training, we're setting boundaries, we're creating routines. And then there's the next couple months where we're really getting into training. That's kind of, it sounds like, how long did you have Fred? A couple?
It was going on 6 months when this happened.
Oh, yeah. So he's in that, you're kind of out of that honeymoon where he's like showing you more of his true self. You're getting in this really rigorous training routine. And yeah, and then it's hard. But I think the other opportunity I feel like I would see for a dog like Fred is working him at you had mentioned how he's looking out the windows and dogs were barking, things like that. That to me is something that when you bring a dog in, I try not to just like give them free access to windows or things like that. I want to bring a new dog into my home with a lot of structure. Crating, I'm not going to give them furniture access right away. Those are privileges I really want them to earn, just so that we're clear on kind of where the dog falls. Not saying you did this at all, Susan, but I think a common pattern I see with people rescuing dogs is the dog has a sad backstory. We just want to give like lovey-dovey, snuggly energy to those dogs when they need it's. I did it too. I rescued my first Rottweiler and like, I was like, come on the couch with me. Let's snuggle. And believe me, like 1 weekend, he's reacting to every single dog he sees. And this is a 130-pound dog. I am not a trainer yet. I am very much at the end of like a tight leash. And of course, I don't have the tools that I have now at this point in my life. So I see a dog even before he does. I tense up on my leash. I hold my breath. I do everything I would never do now. And it stems from, then in his mind, he's like, don't worry, Mom, I see you're freaking out. I'll scare it away. Or like, I don't know if that's exactly what's going on in his mind, but essentially. And I bungled it too, because I welcome him into my home with no structure. I'm like, this is your house. Enjoy your living room. Look out the windows, like practice reactivity in the house. And then it's almost guaranteed to be worse outside. So I know it's hard when we bring these dogs into our home, but to me, structure and boundaries is the first form of love we can give them to help them feel safe and help them really know they can look to us for leadership rather than the other way around.
Fred definitely needed that. And my boyfriend says, you humanize animals. And I do, and I did. And that was probably part of it too.
Yeah. It comes from a place of love, like that humanizing element, but it is one thing in becoming a professional trainer. I have had to untrain that instinct of mine of like, I have to not tough love, but it's just more of that will come, those snuggles will come, but it's a privilege that has to be earned by showing me there's no behavior issues that once we've worked through those things, I'll invite you on the couch. I'll invite those things. But if we do that too soon, I think it sends the wrong message to the dog that where their role is.
Mm-hmm. I feel that. Every time I go over to Lindsay's house, she has a meat dog that she saved from, was it Taiwan?
Yeah.
And the
meat trade puppy.
This dog's like Snaggletooth.
Yeah.
And I just feel so bad. And I'm like, oh, come here.
Right.
It's not like she just had like a full happy life with you her whole life.
She's living the dream like that. Yeah, I know. She has a sad story. But again, I rescued her before I was a trainer as well. And I spent years reinforcing fear. She'd be like shaking in a corner. I'm like, it's okay. Don't worry. It's just the vet. And believe me, like the vet, it made it worse. Like I was just, what she was hearing from me was like, good fear, good job. Keep being scared. Cause I'm just like petting her and all this. And now I know I would work that. I would use movement. I would use food very intentionally and like help the dog through that. But it's, to me, a lot of this training is not intuitive in that if we apply human psychology, because that's what you were doing, Susan, you were welcoming in Fred as if he were a foster child or something like that needs love and needs that support and stability. And that's like the hard part about where human psychology doesn't line up with dog psychology as much. We can't verbally rationalize and explain it. We have to show him with energy and movement and our training techniques how to process those things. Ugh.
I know. And then a friend of mine, he has 3 Malinois. Fred was a mix. He had Shepherd
Yeah.
but my friend has 3 full Malinois. I go over to his house and he just points and he'll speak German to them. And they wait for the commands. And I'm like, how? It's so
Right?
perfectly, it's like magic.
Yeah.
Like, how did you do that? He said, discipline.
It's boundaries. Yes, exactly. That is teaching dogs boundaries. It didn't come naturally to me. I struggle with boundaries in most areas of my life. I'm realizing this, and training's been a really good avenue for me to be like, okay, I'm going to do it right here. But that is where consistency is key. Of like, boundaries need to be clear and consistent. And to me, that's where like the couch. There's other reasons. I need more studies and scientific data on why furniture is so hard for dogs. However, like to me, it's just a very consistent boundary that I can lead in with. Of like, you'll learn that, but not yet. Too soon. Yeah. Oh, but that is impressive.
We just had that conversation about how Sage is like old, and I'm like, yeah, Sage can do whatever she wants. She's
Exactly.
old. She earned it.
Yeah.
She used to be super well trained, but now she's like some old lady.
Yeah. You gotta learn the rules before you can break them. That's
all my other dogs. I'm like, you cannot do this, but this is the only dog that I'm like, you can get away with anything. I love you.
Now, how did you train your dogs, Molly?
So I learned from someone that was a hunt dog trainer. So he trained hunting labs. And so it was very much like dogs are tools. You do not humanize them. They are used for a purpose. And so it kind of like, and then there's me who's like, oh, but I love my dogs. So I did have to train that. Obviously, like my dogs are half hunting dogs, half companion dogs. So I did have to learn the boundaries of this is a working dog. I need to treat it like a working dog. I need to take my emotion out of it. And that's the one thing that he told me. When you're training with emotion, it's never going to work ever. You can train changing your tone, like, good girl. No, like you can change your tone, but you cannot change your emotion when you train. You have to do everything emotionless, because as soon as you start putting negative emotions into things is when it all falls apart.
It's so true.
So that's how I learned, because I would go over there and like I'd try to run my dogs on blinds and birds and stuff, and like when they weren't getting it, I would get so frustrated and like I'd add frustration and emotion into my training, and that's when everything would fall apart. And he's like, you got to go. You go home, take a day, come back when you're like ready to be on an emotional plane, like no emotion.
Wow.
And that was super hard.
It's so true. And I think for myself as a trainer, it is like so easy for me to cut out emotion with client dogs. And then it's so hard when it's your own dog. Because it's like your ego's involved. It's a reflection of yourself. It's like half the time it's like, oh, I didn't do my homework. Like, yeah, I got to work this more. Yeah.
No, I totally get it. Because with my dogs, it was like I always tell people when I trained my dog Sage, like that's the dog that I screwed up the most. And she was just very forgiving. And made all my mistakes with her. And then when it came to my other dogs, I just had it like in my head where I was so ingrained in like no emotions, like at all. There's right and there's wrong and there's boundaries, but I'm not going to get emotional trying to correct on those things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is right or not, because I wanted Fred socialized. And I waited probably like 3 months, and I'm like, he's friendly enough. So my mom was going to DSW, and I'm like, I'm going to bring him in there and I'll take him out. If I see any warning signs, I'll watch his body language. It turns out he had all the women in there in line all over him. And he would just, if I stopped in line, he would stop. He would sit, stay by my side. He laid down. And that's why this is so hard for me. When I see that side of him, people actually said, are you training him to be, a guide, an assistant dog? And I'm like, no. I said, he's just doing this.
Right.
So it's like all of this and then that.
That's hard in training too, to set boundaries with other people when you're training your dog. I'm having to do it with Jade right now because she's a submissive peer. I have a dachshund that I own that I'm training. And everyone goes up to her and they go, oh, she's so cute. She's so, and then she flips over and pees. And I'm like, I'm getting tired of cleaning up dog piss. Like, you guys can't. And so I tell people, I'm like, don't touch her. Don't acknowledge her. don't even act like she's there. And of course, like half the people listen and they don't acknowledge her and she doesn't pee. And then the other half of people are like, she's fine. And they reach down and she pees all over.
Right? My blanket response is, nope, sorry, they're in training. No, sorry. It's like, I don't have to give any explanation, because the moment you start explaining what you're working on, that person thinks they're the one to like help you solve the puzzle. And you're like, no, you're not actually. Nope, we're in training.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. With me, with all of this happening, it was just like, here he is in social situations that he proved to be like stellar. And it just makes this whole thing so much harder. And the people who may think of adopting him, they'll never know this stuff unless I speak to them.
Right.
They're just going to hear this dog that has to wear a muzzle in Palm Beach County, and that's what they hear and they don't want.
Right.
So I don't want him to be a lifer.
I have a question for Lindsay. Hearing what you've heard about Fred, who do you think would be like the perfect adoption person for him? Because obviously Susan did her due diligence and like
I've tried everything.
Yeah.
I mean, my boyfriend has a ranch in Texas. He is worried because he knows the full story, and he has 3 labs and he's got 2 smaller dogs. He's like, Susan, he's like, what if? And he's got chickens and.
Oh yeah. We don't want to, I would not suggest anyone with small dogs or like small animals, anything like that, because that is where we're fighting against nature. We know that piece, we can work that, we can make progress on that, but he's gotten to 1, and that's where like that pattern is there. And if presented in that scenario again, that pattern would likely repeat and potentially be worse. So that's where we want to avoid small dogs. Not that I think with training, like he could encounter these things in public and have different tools. There's potential there, but I wouldn't have him in a home that has small animals.
It's like taking an alcoholic to a bar.
Yes, it's just not. Yeah, there's a limit on that. I had a case a couple years ago where this dog was small dog and human aggressive. So this dog had a lot more going on, but and that piece of it, we can work it, but there are limits. And I call it training and management. To me, when there's like that small dog aggression will need to be managed. And in a scenario where there's small dogs in the home, like management will at some point fail, and it could be potentially really bad for everyone involved. So that I would avoid. Where Fred shines, though, is what you're describing of him at DSW with a bunch of ladies around him and like taking all this direction. Like he needs someone that is into training, maybe someone that's into sports. If there's someone into protection sports, bite sports, agility, like those types of things where we can channel that drive and help Fred really build his skills and his connection with his new person of like, hey, we do this together. This is so cool. He sounds like a lovely candidate for that because he is so driven, and like you're describing, where he's like in his heel and doing his sits and his downs, and like he wants that job. So I feel like he has incredible potential for someone that's into that stuff. And apologies, dog here. I'll show you the culprit. Everyone, apologies for the sound here, but this is Birdie.
Aww.
She's training with me, so I was hoping that wouldn't happen. I have noise canceling on, so I'm not sure exactly what she was responding to, but we're better now. There we go.
That didn't sound
She's
like a
doing
dog
good.
at first.
I know. It's like you stepped on something.
Yeah, exactly. No, she's a fear case. She's 6 months old. She's been very fearful since 8 weeks. There's a genetic component to this, but we're making really good progress, just if I'm prepared.
At what point do you think you can't make progress? Like it is what it is. Because I'm thinking of Fred. He's probably going on 3.5, 4 years old now, I'm guessing. Like when do you say?
That's a really good question. So a couple things I'm looking at, and this is where, just to be objective, because I think a lot of, especially in the situation you went through with the legality of it and the damage that was done, there's a lot happened there. But the first thing I look at is the damage that the dog has caused, of like, what is the level of danger, risk that this dog poses to the community. And I personally don't think Fred is a huge risk towards people. It's those small dogs is where his risk really is. So then it's managing that. And so in looking at, like, when I'm working with someone who it's the dog and the owner, I'm looking at what is the capability of damage that this dog can cause? Where is this dog's threshold? What is the likelihood that this dog is going to be in that situation again? From a dog perspective, then also how well can the owner manage that? How well can the owner prevent that dog from being in situations it's not ready for? And that's where it's just so tragic to me, the situation, how it played out for you of like, it is one of those kind of like freak things that happen so fast, but the consequences were so bad that, that's a really tough situation to be in. However, with where we go from there, it's, if we can manage the dog to prevent them from being in that situation again, essentially guaranteeing Fred is never in an opportunity to really cause harm to a small dog, then I look at that trainability. And that's what you're describing of him. He sounds very trainable. And that's to me where prognosis feels good. Like if Fred had a more colorful history, like more bites and more incidents, things like that, maybe that didn't end so badly, I'd be honestly more concerned. I look at what's called like the fight to bite ratio, where a dog that has been in a lot of scuffles or disagreements, we'll call them, where they're having disagreements with dogs. I'm not necessarily super concerned by a dog that's having a lot of disagreements. What I'm looking at is the level of damage caused. And that's where when I say like Fred should not be around small dogs is because he caused very significant damage to that one. And put in that situation again, he would likely do the same thing. So when we're looking at dogs that have issues with other dogs and we consider that fight to bite ratio, I'm not necessarily bothered by a dog that's been in a lot of disagreements because that ratio is pretty big, that if they haven't caused damage. As far as Fred moving forward, I feel like if someone can be okay with that limit of he shouldn't be around small dogs, but has incredible potential in so many other chapters, then he could make a wonderful dog. And the muzzle training, the fact that he's used to wearing the muzzle, I know muzzles, unfortunately. He doesn't like it. Okay.
No, they're not putting a muzzle on him because he's in the shelter. I don't know. I'm lying. I'm guessing here.
Yeah.
Because he is in a community. At Big Dog Ranch, there's no cages. And they live in like cottages and they put like 3-4 dogs in each unit. It's amazing. It's the one place you can go to and you don't feel bad when you walk out of there for those animals. You think, oh my God, they have it made here.
Well, I love that.
It's unbelievable.
We need those everywhere. Yeah.
I mean, I've done my research on it because A, I got them there, but B, I had to bring them back and I had to be sure, but it's the largest, shelter in North America, no kill.
Wow.
Yeah. What they do there is amazing. But it's just like, this is all Fred knows now, for the past year and over a year. And I know they train, but they're not going to get the kind of training I don't think that you give. You know what I mean? People are just going to see muzzle.
I'm looking at their website right now. They have some cute dogs.
Wow. That's amazing.
Look at Fred. He's under Henderson, AKA Fred, because his name was Henderson. And that's how all the staff knew him.
They have so many. They're all under, there's such a long list. They're all under alphabetical order. I'm only in the B's. You said Henderson?
Henderson, yeah. It's amazing what they do. Absolutely amazing. And that they take the time to check in with me every once in a while and just give me an update or a video of Fred. I can't go visit him. I mean, it's only 40 minutes north and I can't do it. I don't know if he remember me or not, but
he's so cute. Hold on, I wonder if I can show a picture.
That's him.
Oh, he is handsome. Oh my goodness. Oh, if you're listening to this, you need to look up Fred. And if you're tempted, he's worth it. Oh, he's so cute. Look at those eyes. I love a brindle too. He's got like a blonde coat with some black striping in there. He is beautiful.
He's cute.
He really is. He's a good dog. And then every other Sunday, I mean, this is how good he was. Every other Sunday, I take him to the pet store, the bath, the raised bathing, so you don't have to hunch over. I would take him there every Sunday and he would just be like that. And everybody was amazed at how good he was. So it's crazy, right?
It is. And that's the thing that's hardest for me about these kind of what I just call like these freak scenarios where the dog is the one that suffers out of that. Where
sorry about the phone in the background. I forgot to shut that one off.
He sounds like a fabulous dog that just was in a situation that was really unfair for him. And not saying this is your fault, but just like the universe, it was a perfect storm of bad situation. So to me, I just clapped. He is the type of dog that has extreme potential. Any trainer that might be listening to this and is like, hey, I want a real cute project, go get Fred Henderson.
Yeah.
Henderson. He's very cute.
He really is. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But I just don't want to see anybody else fall into this situation. It was really, really bad. And like the training advice that you can give for a first time rescuer, and not put the human element in there. You're humanizing them. And I do that. I am so guilty. And that could have been part of it. Who knows?
Yeah.
I've seen Lindsay work with dogs. She's a freaking wizard.
No. Well, I try to be. I have a lot of experience in this, but I think just as far as what you can do too, if you have a dog that you feel is a risk, I think something that is good to keep in the back of your mind, there are three factors. We call them the 3 Ds of dog training that are going to affect a dog's level of reaction to something. The first is the distraction itself. So this Karen Schnauzer was a big distraction because that little shit had said a lot. He'd talked a lot of smack. There's like an association there. You're at a short distance. You're less than a couple houses away at this point. And then duration. So distraction, distance, duration, the amount of time that dog is visible. I know that duration wasn't really at play there and that he wasn't that visible for so long, but big distraction at a short distance. When you're working with a new dog and you're really getting to know them and you're trying to set them up for success, when you're out in the wild, out walking, distance is our number one factor that we can control. We can't control every dog that's going to come near us or come into our be present, but usually we can kind of plan our route, plan our escape. And that's where, without even thinking, I'm going to add distance at first, because I can always gradually get closer if I feel like the dog is being successful. But and again, this is just for future or anyone listening to this that's kind of like, ooh, I haven't thought about all of this. Like if we have any uncertainty, just make the decision, walk away, have your dog with you. Even if your dog is like at the end of the leash barking at whatever it's seeing, like you just turn your body and go. Point your body where you want to go and have a kind of short but loose leash, and your dog will have to follow you. And then you can make better decisions around like, how do I want to work this? I just want people to have some kind of worst case scenario. All of a sudden I'm presented with this, plan your route.
And get rid of those flexi leashes. What do you call those extent? Oh my God.
Retractable leashes. Smash them with a sledgehammer. Do not buy them. I've seen the worst rope burns from those. I've gotten one. I wasn't using the flexi leash, but I got the back of my calf as a dog like ripped out behind me. And the dog is getting reinforcement for pulling and blowing you off. They're using leash pressure to get to things. Was Susan's Schnauzer on a retractable leash?
She only walked on a retractable leash.
I can almost guarantee you that is contributing to the Schnauzer's reactivity. He's the angry little bus driver. Like, you get over here, you go there. And like, that's building that pattern. Those are the dogs that get attacked.
Mm-hmm. And most of the dogs here, those stupid retractable leashes. And yet, they're dangerous.
Sorry. They are.
Very.
But they're dangerous. Just even walking down the street, these people who are on their phone on a retractable leash. I mean, really?
Yeah.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It is.
Oh. Right. Oh, for sure. I had an incident yesterday where a dog pulls its I didn't realize it was on a retractable. I'm just like practicing with 2 dogs, and we're walking an empty stroller because the owner's about to be a grandma. So we're practicing. And this retractable leash dog comes jutting out. One of the dogs he's socially selective, so he doesn't like dogs rushing into his space. wraps me up in the leash. We tipped the stroller over. I hope she's not. It's empty, but this owner's freaking out because he thinks there's a baby in the stroller. He can't tell it's an empty stroller. And like, it's one of the, like, I wish I had it on film because it would just be like the best blooper. But it's like, what can go wrong with a retractable leash? And like, I have these dogs on normal leashes, but by the time the retractable gets around and this dog is like, it wasn't a full-blown fight, but it was like, yeah, it was a bad retractable leash.
But people need to see that stuff.
Exactly. What can go wrong? It was not good.
We need to do a whole podcast on what leash to buy.
I know,
Yeah.
right? And I'm open-minded in this. There's a couple different, there's many ways we can go, but I feel like we need something that's going to create a sensitive dog, create a nice fluid conversation for us. Yeah.
I like the slip.
There you go.
Yeah,
and harness. Like
Yeah.
Fred, I had him on a harness.
So harnesses can actually influence pulling because
And yeah, they can trigger the opposition reflex. Essentially, harnesses are built to absorb pressure, right? If I'm going to train a dog to pull a sled, I'm going to get it used to wearing a harness, right? Like, they're going to pull into that. And this is where I'm not opposed to harnesses. For a dog that is sensitive to pressure, yeah, let's use a harness. They'll feel that pressure. Oh, excuse me. They'll turn into that. But for a dog that is strong and not sensitive to pressure, a harness is going to empower more pulling, and it's going to require us as the handler to use a whole lot of pressure, muscle, to hold that dog back. So that's where, for a dog that is dealing with any type of like behavior problem, or if I have any question, if there's any fear in my mind that this dog could get away from me, I'm going to start on either like a martingale collar, a slip lead, where I can be a lot more sensitive and not have to use as much pressure to set that boundary, if that makes sense. Because I love slip leads. Slip leads are so simple. I don't even have to touch your collar. I loop it on, we're going for a walk, and it's like, I know people get a little turned off by the pressure. There's no break on a slip lead. It will keep tightening. However, it allows me to be my most sensitive self because I'm not going to add pressure on a slip lead. I'm not going to do like collar pops or react like on a slip lead. I'm going to just hold pressure, maybe turn my body, move the other way, but it allows me to really have a nice, nuanced conversation with the dog.
I had a dog that I was
training. That's what they use
at
the shelters.
Yeah. I love it. No, I had a dog that I was training and I put the slip lead on and it made it to the very end, choked. And then he sat there flipping out, like barrel rolling, trying to get out of the slip lead. And then I was like, I'm just going to hold it here until he figures it out. And then I think he took like one step back and was like, oh, that's all I had to do. Was like not pull.
And then was he more sensitive?
Yeah.
Like he was like, oh, excuse me. Yeah, if I can create sensitivity, teach that pressure release in a very kind of fluid, fair way, that's my preferred method.
It was just like the most dramatic thing.
Poor dog. He's like,
but I wasn't even like, I just held it.
Yeah.
And I was like, freak out. Go ahead.
What kind of dog was this?
A boxer.
Drama.
I
love them, but they're, Huskies, boxer,
I know.
Shepherds, high drama.
I know. It was a friend's dog, and she's like, oh, he pulls on leash. I'm like, just get a slip lead. And she's like, I don't want to. He chokes on him. I was like, have you ever put him on one? She's like, no, but I'm afraid that he will. And I'm not even joking. I slipped it over this dog's neck and like.
Was she present for this?
Yeah. And she was like, he's dying. I was like, he's not dying. And then I was like, I'm not pulling at all. I'm just holding. And then literally the dog took one step back and was like, oh, I'm not dying. And then he walked, he healed. He like, every single time he would get to the end of the leash and it would just bump a little. And he was like, oh, sorry, I'm here.
Right. I love that. And I guess, so slip lead, just common pitfall for anyone who's listening and they're like, okay, but my dog is choking on a slip lead. It's because we're following pressure. Mm-hmm. If the dog's going to pull forward and feel pressure and realize like, I can get to that bush, I can get to the tree, I can pull you where I want to go, I'll tolerate this sensation to get there. And so by simply stopping, turning your body, going the other way, we're teaching them, hey, that actually doesn't work. It causes you to have to reconnect with me. And that's where we can create a pressure sensitive dog. Because anytime someone expects the tool to do the work, they're like, oh, I tried this and that, none of it works. It's like, because we're allowing for reinforcement of leash pressure. Yeah. So if we can set a boundary, if there's no forward movement on a tight leash, and hey, we're not going to get anywhere for a little bit. We're going to be pausing, turning around, walking backwards, just walking in circles up and down our driveway, but we're going to get a pressure sensitive dog that's more tuned in with us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What would you recommend, Lindsay, as like a beginning me? I'll use me as an example. So like I get Fred, I get him home, I give him his 3 days, 3 weeks, whatever, you know, and then I start training. I mean, I just went on instinct with him because I knew he had potential. But what would you suggest to people? Like, where do you begin and when should you call in the professionals?
Great question, Susan. I call in a professional like right away. If there's any question of like, hey, there might be a more effective way to do this, don't wait for the problem behavior. Bring in someone that's the gently balanced trainer that's going to kind of guide you in what tools are going to be most effective for the dog in front of you. And this is coming from someone who adopts a reactive Rottweiler, waits 5 years to hire a trainer, and is like, I can figure this out. Like, I get it. I should have hired a trainer. Because once I did, it was like cooking with gas. I was like, oh, do you see us? We're crushing it. Like, and that's what really got me into this. But, for that period of like, hire that trainer right away, but also as far as like what you're focusing on, what you're doing with the dog, usually I'm going to do basic leash work, and yes work is essentially how I'm layering in food. I'm going to do those things around my house, in my driveway, in my backyard. Like, I don't have to go anywhere to start those conversations with the dog and really help the dog start connecting with me. And then if the dog has a lot of energy and that feels like torturous, a dog like Fred, he seemed like he was a pretty high energy guy. I also like to pair that with getting a long line, just a really long leash. It could be a slip or connect to a collar. And that way I can have the same conversation of like pressure release, yes work, like doing that stuff, but the dog is getting more steps than me. And I think this is what you were describing of something you were doing with Fred. You'd take him to a field, or you'd take him somewhere where there aren't dogs around, and we can just give him more freedom to be a dog and run around with you. Yet you're not going step for step. Like I am in my driveway, or when I start working with a dog, I usually just go to like a dead end street and I start doing leash work with no intention of getting anywhere. But if the dog has a lot of energy to get out, that's where, to me, I got to go run this dog somewhere. I have to get that long line. And we can do that safely if we find a space that it could be private property. It could be a public space that's just empty, or like you were saying, going out at different times. Obviously there's some risk to that, but it's a risk I'll take. If I have the dog on a long line and for a dog I'm just getting to know, I'm not letting that long line drag. I'm holding it, but it's allowing the dog to get fulfillment, get that like energy out and bond with you and play a little fetch or whatever it is that the dog likes to do. Those would kind of be my two, doing some kind of short leash work around your home, and then giving the dog some opportunities to safely run and get energy out with you is where I start with a new rescue.
That's really good info.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I waited too long. I don't know. I'll never know. But
I just wish that trainer that you contacted would have been like, hey, I realize what I'm offering isn't exactly what you need right now. Here's another trainer. Here's someone else in my network. Like, that's something I do for people. I've got a huge trainer network locally, and if I'm not the right fit, I'm going to at least recommend one or two people that might be, where like, hey, this person's a little more affordable, or this person specializes in that. Like, go talk to them. And that's just the sad thing, because I do think with a little more professional guidance, it could have been a different outcome, and that would have changed your life so much. And that's just right. That's just the hard thing of like, I'm fine if I'm not the right fit for someone. That's okay. There's more dogs out there for me. Let's find you someone that's good for you.
I've had trainers with Max in Maine, and they did exactly. They come out to your house, and you know they worked around you. I didn't have a choice with this, and I was still looking into it. I just never followed through. I didn't, I was trying to do my own thing, and I waited too long. Oh.
Don't bring yourself too much too. It's so hard. I waited too, and my dog was also a pretty significant risk. I was using distance, to be honest. I was like, I tried a lot of different tools, and I was like, okay, there's a dog over there. We're going this way. And it didn't resolve the behavior, but it allowed me to stay out of a lot of really problematic scenarios.
Yeah. No, that's what I did, and that's what a lot of people will do. Yeah. But I hope that through this, everybody understands the importance of training and good dog food. Seriously, I mean, it's the best dog food out there. I mean,
Thank
Fred,
you.
before I even got Fred, I knew I was going to adopt that day. I had the dog, I had the Voyager. I went through Ben,
Yeah.
and I got the big old bag, and I've never seen, and my friends now buy the Voyager for their dogs, and I don't think any dog has turned his nose up to the Voyager. Seriously.
Thank
My
you.
dogs love it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's a good food for health
Yeah.
reasons.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank
But
you so much.
good training and insurance, push it. It needs to be pushed.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, Susan, that's not something I've recommended to people in the past, and it's something I think I should be recommending. As far as I've had a couple clients with pretty extreme scenarios and HOA stuff, things like that, but it hasn't crossed my mind of the bite insurance. That's a really good recommendation.
It wouldn't. And people listen to my people that know exactly how much I paid out and everything. They're like, "Why, you're a fool?" And I'm like, the stress it caused,
Yeah.
it was bad. So, and I think I don't want this to happen to somebody else.
Exactly.
And lose your dog lose your dog on top of it.
Exactly.
Susan, thank you so much for telling us your story.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you for so much for all the info. You are a wizard, as always.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for having me. And Susan, it was a pleasure meeting you. I'm sorry for all you've been through, but I, again, appreciate you sharing it for everyone else to learn from.
No, my next dog, I'll bring him to Michigan and spend time with you.
Please.
Make sure it's
we
done
do.
Right.
We do virtual as well. Like, I'm all about empowering you to train your dog. Like, I'm happy to train your dog, but if I can give you the tools, like, that's where we're going to have the most reach and get the best results.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, hey.
Get a hold of Lindsay, seriously. And she will virtually, whenever I have training questions, I'll call her and she'll write over the phone. And she's always right. I've never had a time where she was not right.
Hey, there's many ways to do it. I've got a lot of ideas, and one of them is bound to work. So
That's right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. We appreciate you listening along. We hope that we've been able to share some information that will help you love your animals as much as they love you. Don't forget, always treat the treatable, prevent the preventable, and we will catch you on the next podcast.